Visit us at Eduvo. Thank you for calling Eduvo.
Hello, in this video we are going to cover enumerations in Visual Basic. So what is an enumeration? It's a cool way of having a name and assigning a value to it, and this is really useful if, let's say, you have, I don't know, some cars, for example, and like manufacturers, and each manufacturer you'll be using some way in your application. Maybe you'll be checking if it's a particular manufacturer. Let's say if the user has, the option to input an option, and so you can check if it's a manufacturer. Maybe you'll be using it in other aspects as well. And to be able to use that, you need to have some sort of value behind the scenes assigned to it. And this just will allow you to have a name assigned to a value consistently and group it all together as well. Because otherwise you could just have constant variables, but this way it's all just grouped together. So let me just show you what I'm talking about and how you would actually use it. So outside of the main method, just put enum. So enum is short for enumeration, and I'm going to call it cars now in here. And make sure you put an end enum. Visual Studio does it automatically. Now we need to put something. So if we put BMW, then we put Mercedes, and Mercedes. Well, all the manufacturers. Honda, Faraday Future. I think it needs to have no spaces. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let's save that, and now let's print out the values and see what we get. So if I do console.write line, to access the value, you do cars dot then the name of the value. So if I do BMW, and as you can see, by default it's 0. Mercedes will be 1. The next one is 2. So you just it's just increments by 1. This is great if, let's say, you have a bunch of options, or you're checking and keeping track of something in your application. You can just have it consistent like so. Instead of saying, is it always equal to 0, for example, which is what BMW is, you just say if it's equal to BMW. And it just looks a lot nicer. And what I'm going to do is just print out all of the others. There aren't many, so it won't take long. So we get Mercedes, we get Honda, finally we have Faraday. Okay, let's just run this, see what we get. So we get 0, 1, 2, 3, that's pretty cool. So we could have changed the value. So if I'd say if I assign 6 now, and I run it, it does 6, 7, 8, 9. So if I assign a different value, it'll increment it from there. Then let me do something else. So if I do that, let's see what we get. So Mercedes is 6. BMW is 6. Mercedes doesn't have a value assigned to it. We haven't assigned one ourselves. Mercedes comes after BMW. Therefore, it just gets incremented by 1. Honda, on the other hand, has a value assigned of 90. And Faraday Future comes after, and the other value of 91. But all we need to know, it doesn't matter what these values are. That's the beauty of it. So we could change these values as much as we want. Wherever we refer to, cars.Faraday Future, whether we're checking something or putting something in a database or, showing something to the user, let's say an option, for example, it's always going to be the same everywhere. It's going to be consistent. So that's it. That's enums. That's how you use it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next programming video. Hello, in this Visual Basic programming video, I am going to show you directives. So directives are basically pre-processor calls, which means before it compiles, it does something. So it's actually before compilation. So all this other stuff generally happens when you compile it, but this actually happens before. So there's a few main directives, and I'll provide a link with more information of those directives. But one of the basic ones is to do something that's like a variable, and directives always have a hash. And if I put const, then I put, let's say, a name for this directive. I'll call it name equals, say, fly. So what this does is if we run it, nothing should change. It says press any key to continue. It's not printed out. It's almost like a variable that's created before compilation. So this can't be modified at all. And this is almost just like a value that's there. I could use it. So I could do console.writeLine name. If I run it, what do we get? Oh yes, so, sorry, we can't use it like that because it actually happens before the actual, what's it called, the compilation occurs. But what we can sort of use it in is something like a if directive. We can actually check for a certain condition. So if I do hash if, and if I do name, if I say equals Frohan, we need the end if to correspond with it. And inside here we could do a console.writeLine. And maybe if you're Frohan, which is me, we can say enter. That's cool. So run it, save, enter. If I change this to just Rohan, it doesn't say it. So it's like we're creating a variable before compilation. We can use it in a before compilation way where we're checking if name equals Frohan, and then we run some regular piece of code. As you can see, this is grayed out. If I put the F back in, it goes back to normal. So you can actually see what will actually run. It's not just about what will run, it's what's actually going to get compiled and put into the executable. Whereas if I do that, this line won't actually get put into the executable. Whereas if I do that, it does get put in there. And another way that you can do, you can actually have multiple conditions. So you could do hash, I don't know, else if, and let's say if else if name equals Bob. Okay, let's do Batman. Quotation. Obviously you could use numbers here if you wanted, that's fine. For a data type is a-okay. And we could do a console.writeLine. Obviously IntelliSense is not coming up for this because at the moment it's code that won't run. If I say if I run that, it only shows enter. If I change this to, I don't know, 8, none of the lines get run. And if I change it to Batman, just the first line gets run. You can have a default as well. So if you want to do something by default, you can put hash else, and if I do console.writeLine, and I'll say default. Save that, run it. It's not running. But if I were to change this to 8 again, it will by default go to the else if none of the other conditions are true. So it checks this directive, nah, it's false. Checks this directive, nah, it's false. So you just fall back on the else directive. Ooh, forgot to do not without debugging. There we go. It says default. So that's directives. I'm going to provide a link with this video that shows you all of the different facets of directives in Visual Basic. So feel free to take a look at that. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next programming video. Hello, in this programming video for Visual Basic, we are going to look, oh, sorry about that squeak, that was my chair, better not move it, stay in the same position. So we're going to look at operators. So there's a few different operators. We've already actually used some of them. So the first, set of operators we're going to look at is arithmetic. Just want to mention, this is not, every single operator there is. Once you know how to use one or two from each, individual category, should be all good to go. I'll provide a link so you can see all the different ones, but it's, essentially the same principle. So one of the types of operators is arithmetic operators, so mathematical functions. So, like adding, take away, multiplying, dividing, that sort of stuff. And let's say if I create, actually no, let's just do a simple console.writeLine, and in here I'm going to put I'm going to do 5 plus 9. That right there is an arithmetic operator. There we go, we have 14. If we were to change that to a minus, or let's simply change that to a divide, we get 0.5555. Technically it should be recurring, but they just rounded it because you can't go on forever because you need to store it in memory somewhere. Okay, so that's a mathematical operator. I'll change it back to plus just to keep it simple. The next type of operator is called a comparison operator, and this will compare two values. If those values, or like obviously depend on the comparison, and if the result is true, it'll return true. So let me show you something. And also, wherever I've used like 5 or 9 or any value, you can replace that with a variable. That's fine as well. And then as an extra task, I recommend doing that. So if I do dot right line, and if I did, let's say, does 5 equal 9? So this is saying does 5 equal 9? And let's see what we get. It returns false because it doesn't. So if I were to copy that, and instead I do 5 equal 5 and run it, it's true because 5 does equal 5. If I paste it again, and if I say does 5, is 5 less than 9, and I run it, it's true because 5 is less than 9. You get the picture. So I'll put a comment here. Arithmetic operator. Even though I've only done the one. Comparison operators. There are more, but like I said, I'll provide a link that you can see all of the others. The next one is called logical bitwise operators. So if I put logical bitwise operators, I'll just paste that. And a logical bitwise operator is something like and. So if we do 5 and 9, let's see what we get. We get 1. Now you're thinking, where did the 1 come from? If you take them away, you don't get 1. If you count them together, you don't get 1. Like maybe if you say how many times the 5 going to 9, but that's not what it is. So it's actually getting the binary equivalent, so ones and zeros, and doing an AND operation on there. If you don't know what that is, the link that I provide will describe all of those different things what the bitwise operators are. There are other operators like OR, XOR, and NOT, and that'll be all in the description. The next operator we are going to look at is the assignment operator, and we've used one of these already. So if I put assignment operators, and this is assigning something. So if I do dim var integer, and if I do var equal 9, that right there is an assignment operator. You are assigning it. So when it's like this, when it's in something like right line, that's a comparison. But when it's with a variable, it's a assignment. So if I just print out var, as you can see, it says 9. What we can do, there's another operator that you can use, and they're called basically like they're compound assignment operators. So what we can do is like var, let's say plus equals 10. See if you can guess what this does. So console.writeLine, and this, if we print this out, we get 19 because var is assigned 9. When it gets here, var is still 9. What this is the equivalent of writing is this. Also, you can put comments at the end. It's equivalent of doing var equals itself plus 10. So it just means add 10 to itself. You can replace the plus with literally any other arithmetic operator. So as an extra task, I recommend you doing that. And those are the main operators. There are others, but the principle is exactly the same. I'll provide a link so you can check them out. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next programming video.